everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of the Sports Junkies here on Santa Cruz Community Television. I am one of your starters in the starting rotation today, Thomas Brookwalter, along with David Frias, Ben Baker, and Alex Simon. And I know they're waiting to say it, so I'll just say, yes, I'm back in the rotation after spending some time in long relief. Okay.
Good to have you back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Barely.
Last year, we are going to preview today our 2012 defending world champion San Francisco Giants, who won the World Series for the second time in 3 years last year, coming off a very injury-plagued 2011. Key players such as Buster Posey were back and healthy. They were expected to contend for the division. They not only contended, but they won by 8 games over the Dodgers. Then, and even what might have been more impressive, overcoming 6 elimination games in both the NLDS and the NLCS to make it to the World Series before sweeping the Detroit Tigers and becoming world champs. We're going to preview the 2013 season, but before we do that, let me ask you guys real quick, what was a key moment or a key game for you on the Giants' road to the World Series in 2012? And we'll start with Dave.
I think it was the acquisitions. You know, they acquired Marco Scudero, they acquired Hunter Pence, and these were veteran players. And although Pence, his average-wise wasn't as impressive, they were such key contributors to the ball club. And Scudero got hot, so the Giants got him right at the right time, coming from Colorado. And these guys just blended in to the Giants' team chemistry, and they just started rolling sometime in August. And I look back, they had a road trip when they played the Braves, and I believe they won like 3 out of 4. And from there on out, they just started winning, and they just rolled past the Dodgers. And you remember, it was off and on throughout the season. Giants would sweep the Dodgers at their place. Dodgers came back, would sweep the Giants at our home place. But it seemed like from August on, the Giants got rolling. They got those 2 quick acquisitions, Scudero and Pence. And I think from then on out, the Giants just rolled to winning the division.
Boy, I'm not sure about a key game, honestly. But you know,
a key moment or key event.
It's definitely the elimination games. Having won, was it 6 in a row? Mm-hmm. 6 elimination games in a row with their backs against the wall. That just it was amazing to watch.
When they won after they won Game 4, they were of the World Series. They were on a postseason 7-game winning streak after winning Game 4.
I think the key moment is actually 3 games. And going into this series, the Giants, they were looking like they could keep up with this team, but people were wondering, had the Dodgers decided to widen the gap a little bit, it really could have been in mid-June here a chance for them to really run away with the division. And the Dodgers come to AT&T Park and get shut out not once, not twice, but 3 times in a 3-game series. The first time that the Giants had ever swept the Dodgers in a 3-game series. I think that was the moment where the Giants were even a Timmy start of all things. As bad as a year as he's had, and I know we're getting into that next, as bad of a year as Timmy had, he was the 3rd guy to get a win in a shutout. And that, to me, was the thing that really got the ball rolling.
And even with that series, the Giants, Alex, that's a great point, because the Giants at one point have 36 consecutive shutout innings during the season. I mean, their pitching really stepped up.
27 of them being in that series right there. Exactly. And I believe they got another shot at the very next game
against the Reds, wasn't it?
Madison Bumgarner. But that was the series where, with the rival there, a chance to tie this. You're down 3 games in the standings with the 3-game set. All of a sudden, shutout, boom. You're tied in the standings, and you just really demoralized the Dodgers by doing it.
Well, I think for me, I have one key game and one key kind of period moment. The key game early in the season, as early as it is, was Game 4 of the season when they got swept in Arizona to open the season. The pitching looked horrible. Even Matt King had a 6-0 lead at one point in the Sunday game on Easter, but then got completely spit up on and lost the game. Barry Zito. No one expected it to be Barry Zito. He comes in Colorado, of all places, and shuts out the Rockies to get the Giants their first win of the season. That set the tone, I think, for the Giants. That woke up the rest of the starters and set a great season ahead for Barry Zito. I think, and that was key.
And I'm going to throw one last little moment in there. The day during the National Series that Melky Cabrera got suspended.
That was ended up being
the biggest moment in the season because the way Melky exited was very unprofessional of him, and the Giants basically said, we're going to do this without you, Melky. And they went on a tear to the point where they don't even have Melky on any of their postseason paraphernalia.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say.
Like what Dave is wearing today. He's not even there.
The day Melky got suspended, they lost the Nationals. That was the end of a homestand. Then they went on the road to 3 very tough places: LA, Atlanta, and San Diego. And what did they do? 7-3.
Yep.
A 7-3 road trip after losing their big bat. Everybody, Cabrera gets suspended. All the experts, that's it. Giants are done. They're going to fade away. Yep. Giants said right away, no, we're not. We're still here. And they did on that 7-3 trip to 3 very tough places. All right, so we've fondly remembered 2012 now, so it's time to look ahead, move ahead to 2013. And I'm going to start with you, Alex, as we look at the pitching staff for the Giants. Of course, they retained all their starters. All of them are coming back. Tim Lincecum had maybe there's no question, the worst season of his career, and as you pointed out to me, was the worst statistical pitcher in baseball last year. Can the rotation survive another off year from Tim Lincecum? And what do you expect from him in this contract year?
Could they survive another off year? Absolutely. Because right now, looking at it, Lincecum's your 5th best starter, and Bochy said that by not having him start in the postseason. The fact that he had Zito, Bumgarner, Vogelsong, and Kane start says that those are his 4 best guys, and we want Timmy out of the pen. Now, I know he twisted his words to make it not sound that way and say, we think Timmy's a good asset out of the bullpen, which he really is.
He really was. He did a great job.
They could survive if they needed to another off year from Lincecum. I still think it could have been a lot worse last year. He had some good moments. I don't think it'll be as bad as it was last year. I don't see too much, though, improvement either. It's unfortunate because Timmy really looked like a guy that was deserving of the type of contract Greinke just got from the Dodgers going into last year. But now he looks kind of like a guy that the Giants may not want to re-sign him.
Well, sidebar then real quick for 1 second. Real quick, do you see Timmy's future, whether it's with the Giants or without, in the long run as a starter or a reliever?
I think, unfortunately for him, his future success would be in the bullpen. He won't want that.
Right.
And especially over a long season, he'll want to be starting. I bet you he won't mind relieving. I know even last year, R.A. Dickey they used him as a closer in New York a couple times just to see if he could be effective in a 1-inning kind of bullpen scenario. Just his normal bullpen in between starts, they just said throw him in a game. I don't see Timmy really wanting necessarily to be the type of reliever that comes in, even if it's a closer, I think he'll rather be a starter, and because he's been that all his life. As good as he'd be, he's been a starter all his life. Right. I don't think he'd want to change.
Right. Okay. Well, Ben, while we're on the rotation, I mean, let's discuss. All the starters last year at one point went through a slump. Even Matt Cain went through a mini slump after his perfect game, which was another key moment. We all know what these guys can do when they're strong. Should there be, and you've heard Alex and I talk about it before off the air, should there be enough concern about the depth of the rotation, and is the rotation strong enough to withstand a major injury or a couple of slumps like we saw last year?
Well, it's never something you want to anticipate. I mean, never something you want to see. It is something you do want to anticipate, the possibility that it will happen. So you want to be able to have some backup there. I'll just say that the Giants, 1 through 5 on paper, are just as good as any other staff in the entire Major League. Lincecum as a 5 starter is not too bad when you talk about the front 4, and especially if Zito can return to form, Vogelsong can repeat again. And then Kane and Bumgarner, the talent there is almost limitless. So I think they could withstand an injury. We don't want to see it happen, but it's possible that if they need to replace one starter in the rotation, they could still get by and be a playoff team.
I think an injury would be okay. They do have some decent, very minimal but decent depth down in their rotation, with Proctor being the key guy coming from down in the minors. But
and Gaudiang is going to be a
possible spot starter if needed, if there's a short-term injury. But if 2 or 3 guys slump at the same time, which is really what hasn't happened. Vogelsong slumped at one point. Lincecum was slumping pretty much the whole year.
Bumgarner had a slump.
But none of them really happened at the same time. They all kind of went one slump, then the other one slumps as this guy picked up. There was never really
Bogey and Bumgarner seemed to overlap at one point.
For just a start or two.
Yeah.
But remember, Bumgarner's slump really went into the postseason even.
That's true.
Where they didn't give him the start in the NLCS. They actually gave one of those to Timmy. But if a couple of them slump at the same time, it'll be very difficult, like you said, to really have guys to overcome it. I still don't see that these guys are too good to slump together. They know that.
And they have that competitive fire, too.
They're going to learn from what happened last year. I think that's the same rotation. Pretty much, like I said, it's all about staying healthy.
Cool. All right. Well, we've discussed the pitching. Let's move over to the offense now. Go to the batting cage. And Alex, Dave, I am going to ask you the next question, but I want to know from Alex. You know, the other teams in the NL West, we've talked about them. Believe they have upgraded offensively. The Giants have the same lineup to open 2013, basically, as they had to close 2012. Can this offense compete with the rest of the NL West lineups, and do they even have to?
Do they have to? Yes, because the pitching actually has gotten pretty good, especially the most underrated pitching move is Brandon McCarthy signing with the Diamondbacks. Mm-hmm. He will pitch very well. He pretty much lives there in the summer, or I believe down in the southern-west part of the U.S., so he'll be comfortable there, and I know that it's really good weather for him to rehabilitate it with the head trauma. It kind of is a pitcher's park depending on how you throw. So they will need to hit. However, I see their offense improving because of one reason and one reason only, Brandon Belt. I see Belt really picking up. He seemed, especially towards the end of the season, he hit phenomenally in the playoffs.
He did.
And I see him really, you know, at the beginning of the year, he struggled a lot to the point where they even were considering having Pilt start every day over Belt.
Right.
He really picked it up, and he really was going well. And I think he's going to carry that over into a pretty darn good 2013.
He's had a good spring, but you could be skeptical and say, well, he always has a good spring.
But he seems to be much more comfortable at the big league level than he was because, you know, the Giants don't have Pill up. They didn't have him up towards the end of the year. I think that kind of gave him the comfort level of, you know, Posey's going to start every 6th day or something of that sense. But Brandon, you're our guy at first.
And I think he knows that now, which, you know, he's had confidence issues, right? I mean, you know, he knows that now. It's his spot. First base is his spot. I think that could help him out as well. Dave, have you seen any evidence, either, you know, from the spring training, offseason acquisitions, that this offense can or will continue to improve from last year after showing improvement from the year before?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned, like, Brandon Belt's had a great spring training. I mean, spring training, he always has a high average regardless from 2011 and last year and this year. But like I said earlier, I'm looking for the veterans like Hunter Pence. I think he's going to be settling in. I think he's only improved the batting order. You got off the bench Hector Sanchez. Once he gets healthy, he's a good power bat. Scudero, we're looking to at least be consistent. We don't have to, he just got on a hot streak. We don't expect him to be like that. He kind of reminds you of Cody Ross, and then Cody Ross struggled, and then so did the Giants offense. So we got to keep an eye on that. Pablo Sandoval, obviously, it's all about his health, and he can only get better. He's MVP of the World Series, right? So he's very confident right now, and so I think the Giants for the most part will stay the same as last year, but I see definitely slight improvements as far as batting average and then probably the home runs even.
Yeah.
I can definitely see Brandon Crawford also actually hitting a lot better this year just because, again, the comfort level at the big league level, knowing really that there's not going to be much competition. I see Crawford actually hitting. He doesn't need to hit very high to be a very successful player. All he really has to do is play defense and hit the ball once every 5 times. I could see him hitting 250 to 260 range.
Brandon Crawford, I mean, how many guys can say their first big league hit was a grand slam home run? I mean, that's pretty awesome. Ben, I mentioned quickly acquisitions earlier, and the Giants didn't make a lot in the offseason, but they did bring back Andres Torres, who was a key part of the 2010 championship team. He will be in a utility role this year, often platooning in left probably with Gregor Blanco. Had some injury season issues last year with the Mets. His numbers dropped dramatically 2 years ago when he was still in 3 years ago now when he was still in San Francisco. Do you like bringing Torres back?
I think it's an underrated move. I really like having Torres back. Gregor Blanco, as great as he is, I'm not sure he's an everyday bat in the lineup. He is absolutely an everyday fielder.
Yeah.
But with a very wide outfield and a tricky center to right field area to play, having two speedsters in left who can also spell in right for Hunter Pence or in center for Pagan when they need a day off.
Because Torres can play center.
Is vital. You've already got a great pitching staff. Throw in a speedy outfield too, and the Giants are going to be tough to beat.
He's going to be a good late game replacement as well. If you need him as a pinch runner or a late outfielder replacement, I mean, we don't expect the Torres of 2010, but he's as a backup utility man. I think he'll do the job.
And Dave, you just to me hit the nail on the head right there. I think I like Torres coming back as long as we don't expect the Torres from 2010.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think what's going to make him...
Because then the expectations, everyone will think...
What makes him really valuable, though,
too disappointed.
as your fourth outfielder is the fact that, like we've mentioned, he's versatile. He can play all four outfielders. Dave, you made a great point in the fact that he can pinch run for you and then just stay in the game. You will have no issue if Bochy wants to pinch run him for Buster, for example. Keeping him in the game as a double switch and just putting Hector or whoever's catching in for whoever was outfielder you replace. The other part, though, that makes him very, very... really a strong guy to pick up is the fact that he's a switch hitter.
Yeah.
The fact that he's a switch hitter means he can hit right-handed, which is his stronger side, actually. So you can spell him with Blanco that way. But even if you bring him in a pinch hit situation, you can't really bring anybody in to pinch hit against him with the fact that he's a switch hitter. You're not going to bring in a lefty and then you put Torres up. Oh, well, let's have the righty pitch to him.
Right.
You can have him pinch hit it regardless of who they decide to bring in, even if they bring somebody in to make him hit left-handed his weaker side. Him being a switch hitter, great acquisition by the Giants.
Cool. Okay. Well, Alex, I'm going to throw another one at you. This is another one that you and I discussed off the air.
Oh, no.
And the Giants have pretty much kept the same team intact, which they also did after they won the 2010 championship. Right. The first time they did that, obviously, the next year they had a very disappointing season, which was marred by injuries. And you guys all know, talking to me over the years, that I'm very skeptical of teams who don't do anything, who pretty much stand pat in the offseason. Why will this title defense be different than 2011's, considering that once again, they pretty much stood pat?
Because this team is now built for AT&T Park. 2010 to going into 2011, you had a good team, yes, but the team was older. You had guys starting, you lost Uribe and you lost Renteria, but you filled Miguel Tejada in at shortstop. You had Freddie Sanchez at second. You had just brought Buster Posey up. You still hadn't played a full year at catcher. Right. You were starting Aubrey Huff every day at first. I know that they did bring...
Pat Burrell was still there.
Pat Burrell was still there. I know that they started Aubrey actually in right with Brandon Belt, but you had a rookie in Brandon Belt. Right. You had Cody Ross still there every day, even though he came into the season hurt. When he got back, he was starting every day. You didn't necessarily have the guys built to play AT&T Park baseball. Now with Marco Scudero, you're much younger with Crawford and Belt. You have guys that, Belt's really fast. So is Crawford. If these guys hit gappers, they make singles to doubles and doubles to triples like
Pagan.
that. And Pagan's the key keep is that if he hits the same way he did last year, he led the National League last year. I think he actually led all of baseball in triples.
Yeah, he did.
And so going into this season, if he just even gets close, he doesn't have to match last year. If he gets close, it's a great move.
Well, see, and Dave, you mentioned Pagan, and the thing is, a lot of when Pagan first came over, I think a lot of people compared him statistically, and they were very similar to Andres Torres. And I know some people who were worried that he's just becoming Andres Torres and have one good year and drop off again. Yeah. So, do you think Pagan is a steady, will be able to maintain what he was able to do last year?
You know what? I think so. He had a great World Baseball Classic for Puerto Rico. And I see him playing at least steady, as good as he did last year. He also did well in the outfield at AT&T Park. I think that was the issue last year, whether he could play the center field, and he did that. And so I expect him, being leadoff hitter. He's much younger. He's still in early 30s. I think he's going to have a good year for the Giants.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Alex, I do like your point about them being not only younger and for AT&T Park. I mean, last year, in 2011, the guys they brought back who were clutch, who were key in 2010. Were older and they were power hitters. Pat Burrell pretty much had nothing left. And plus he had that foot injury. Aubrey Huff definitely had nothing left.
And again, we mentioned this before. The reason why they really didn't win in 2011, because they still won 88 games. Yeah.
Buster
It's
got
because
hurt.
Buster got
But
hurt.
see,
and I don't mean to put it all on Buster,
Right.
but he is that good. And you saw it last year. Buster's played 2 seasons where he's finished the season.
Yeah.
And he's won a World Series in those 2 seasons. That's how good this guy is, regardless of whether it's him as himself or him as a catcher. He has that impact.
MVP.
And when you took him out in 2011, you didn't win. It's that simple. The fact, if Buster stays healthy, this team should win the division.
I don't want to get into the whole 2011 thing here, but I will say that, yes, Buster was a key injury, but I also have always pointed out that they were still in first place for a month and a half after that. When Sanchez went down, that was like it.
Well, again, you could tread water. That's what it was.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily that
water.
they were still just as good without Buster. I mean, the day after he got hurt, AT&T Park was like a funeral.
I
know
was
you
there.
were working, and it was a funeral basically
It was
for Buster.
such a sad atmosphere. It was like someone died.
But
just an injury, guys.
If you drop someone,
it didn't feel like that.
if you drop someone in the middle of the ocean, they could tread water for a while. But at some point, they are going to fall. They're going to start drowning, and that's what happened.
Real quick, Ben, I do want to say it kind of reminds what Alex was saying about Buster Posey has finished 2 seasons both times. There was a story that Mike Krukow told that they were in the elevator during the postseason or something. He and Buster shared an elevator.
In 2010,
In 2010, during the postseason, right?
It was after, I got the story pretty well remembered. I think
ahead,
a little
you
bit
tell
more. 2010, after they win in Philadelphia, Krukow and Posey go into the elevator after they win Game 6 because they're spending the night because they thought they may need to be there for Game 7. By winning Game 6, they didn't need to.
Right.
Krukow says, Buster, really enjoy this because this doesn't happen every year. And Buster said, well, why can't it? And
That's Buster Posey, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome right there.
And I would love, we could probably spend a whole show just talking about Buster because really, he in himself is unique. Because,
we'll do that someday.
Yeah, we could do it someday if he stays as good as he is. Because think about it, he's following pretty much the same career path Willie Mays is. First year, rookie year, you go to the World Series and you win Rookie of the Year. Willie missed 2 because of the war. Buster missed 2011 because of injury. But then the first year, you're full, you're back. After that, you win the National League MVP and you win the World Series, just like Willie Mays.
I see the parallels, but I don't want to put that kind of pressure on Buster.
We're not putting the pressure on him, but
now.
it's similar. It's very
similar. It's similar in that
Willie Mays is the greatest player, arguably the greatest player of all time, and definitely the greatest
Could
Giant.
Buster be the greatest player of our era? He very well could be.
And Willie Mays did hit more homers. Let me just say
I will say this. I mean, Giants could win another championship. Ain't that what it's all about, winning championships? Buster could easily be number 2 next to Mays. I mean, right now you might still be able to say Bonds, but I think Buster, when his career's over, could be the 2nd greatest Giant.
That's some prediction right there. Wow. All right, well, we all...
I got a guy named Barry.
How many championships?
Even more so.
This is the faith. Well, yeah, but again, more also because more people believe in Buster now than believed in Barry because of what happened to Barry at the end, let's face it. So more people can be positive about Buster.
It's early in his career, but
right,
yes.
Absolutely. But this is how much faith we, the Sports Junkies, have in Buster Posey. Guys, wow. All right.
Well, again, it's not necessarily that we're saying we have the faith in him. It's just you compare the careers. They are on the exact same track. First year here, you win Rookie of the Year, go to the World Series. Buster won it, which Willie didn't. You miss a year for Willie was 2 because of something.
We are starting to run out of time. I think we can all agree that the strength of the team is still the pitching.
Yes.
Specifically the bullpen or the rotation. What do you think, Ben?
Well,
both.
Both?
Why not both?
I'd actually say that their best strength, other than, especially compared to recent years, is that they now have, for the first time in a long time, a real heart of the order. The triple Ps. They got
especially Sandoval stays healthy.
Pablo Panda.
The Panda Posey Pence.
You got to mention, though, that Sergio Romo is going to come in as the closer starting to the season. There could be an issue there, and just like with the power back, I see the Giants getting a long reliever or a closer mid-season.
Okay. And that's, I believe the next question you were going to ask is concern.
As far as the concern,
What's the biggest concern for the Giants?
Well,
I see the only concern, well, I'll ask it then. The only concern, I actually am kind of parallel with Dave on this, is Sergio Romo going to be able to take a full closer's load for a full season? Because they've always used him very delicately because of this little thing right here.
And
his ligament in his elbow. His knee isn't a major concern. It is a concern. But the elbow, with the amount of sliders he throw, when you throw a slider, you whip your arm this way, and you can even see there's a strain to the elbow right here in this ligament. they're very scared with what happened with Wilson, how he's torn that. He tore that in the Colorado game. They've been very careful with using Sergio so as he doesn't tear it. If they throw him the full closer role, you got to be careful as to not overuse him.
I still think Emmanuel Burris should get the save in that Colorado game, not Brian Wilson. I'm sorry. I love Brian Wilson, but I think Burris gets the save in that game. Hey, we've done I think we've done our outlook and prediction on the Giants in the prediction show, right? Is that
I mean,
fair? Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much.
Yeah.
We could see this again. It's very similar how it was in 2010, 2012.
Yeah.
If Buster Posey is healthy, and the pitching is just as good as it is. Again, health is always a concern for every team in baseball.
Yeah.
We've seen when they aren't healthy what happens. When they are healthy with Buster there, as long as Buster's healthy, I don't see anything changing.
Okay.
I see this thing being picked up once again for the Giants. I see them getting this if Buster's healthy. I don't see any reason why they can't.
That is our Giants prediction. Now, before we wrap it up, we have a big announcement here on the Sports Junkies coming up. Now, as you viewers know, Alex Simon is our youngest sports junkie, and he has been with us, right, guys, since we were at SF State on the radio. He's been with us since before Ben joined us.
Yeah.
And Alex has been a sports junkie since he was...
So bow down to me, Ben.
Yeah.
Please, bow down. Seniority. Remember seniority.
How about that?
Alex has been a sports junkie since he was 9 years old. We love having him on the show. His contributions are awesome. Thank you for everything, Alex. But Alex is getting ready to go off to college in the fall. So now we're going to do Sports Junkies' version of The Decision. Alex is going to announce which college he is going to next school year. Alex, you're the man. Take it away.
I'll be attending Elon University next year, which is a small school in North Carolina. They play in the Southern Conference for Division I for every sport other than football. They play in D1A for AA for football. But I'll be attending Elon to go to their communications school next year.
So you're taking your talents to North Carolina.
I'm not that stuck up. Let's be a little nicer.
Okay,
let's be nicer. Come on now.
Well, we're also not having an hour to build it up.
And Alex, you'll be in some disc golf territory over there, as they have the U.S. Championships in Carolina every year.
Maybe I'll get to see you over there if you get there someday.
Hey,
Let's hope so.
4 years. Got 4 years.
Hey, Dave.
Got 4 years.
You and I could call the tournament. If they're both in, that'd be great. We'll call the tournament.
Invite us when next year's spring break. Yeah.
Maybe plane trip.
Seriously, on behalf of all of us, thank you for all your contributions, both on air and behind the scenes. You're awesome.
Just getting started.
Thank you very much.
And
go Bruins.
Just getting started, Alex.
on
Just
getting
getting
through
started.
high school.
Yeah, and getting through knowing us. Hey,
The true challenge.
Just for all the folks at home, getting to know these guys and having to deal with them is a lot harder than it looks, I promise.
we could agree on
You
that
better
with you
believe
as well.
it.
All right. Thanks for everything, Alex, honestly. Hey, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.